الفاتحة. أعظم الله أجوركم سيدي ومولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان، بمصابكم بجدكم أبا عبد الله، صلى الله وسلم عليك يا رسول الله، وعلى آلك المظلومين، صلى الله وسلم عليك يا أبا عبد الله. لعن الله من ظلمكم من الأولين والآخرين إلى يوم القيامة. ما خاب من تمسك بكم، وأمنا من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا سيدي كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. ليلة العزاء، ليلة المصيبة، ليلة المعتم. My dear brothers and sisters, the night of Ashura has come upon us once again. This is the night to cry for Hussain and his ashab. From tomorrow night we will be crying for Zainab and the women of the Ahl al-Bayt. But tonight we cry for Hussain and his ashab. When you cry for Hussain, never think you have attained some greatness or that you have done him a favor. For Hussain is that madhloom for whom the heavens and the earth cry. Hussain is that gharib for whom the jinn, for whom the animals and the beasts and the fish cry. Hussain is wept for by the animate and the inanimate. Hence, in the words of a poet, Teri gharibi per Hussain कायनात रोती है, निकल के रोता है दिन, छुप के रात रोती है. Why, O Hussain, why does the day and the night cry for you? तू इस तरह से लुटा ऐ हुसैन इब्न अली, तेरी गरीबी पे खुदा की जात रोती है. Hussain, when we cry for Hussain, we should also take some lessons from his life. And tonight is not a night to talk about philosophy, but I share just one lesson that we can teach our children. I have read amongst the karamat of Imam Hussain a narration of an alim who says that when I was sleeping one night, I had a dream about a man who was raised on the Day of Judgment, and Allah began accounting for him, and the angels weighed his good and his bad. And when they had done that, they found that his evil outweighed his good by a little. So they said, this man must be condemned then and sent to the fire of hell. Now this alim says that in my dream I heard Allah saying to the angels, wait, this man has one deed that only I know about. When he used to drink water, he used to remember my Hussain. Weigh that as well. And when they began weighing just the reward of remembering Hussain when you drink water, the balance was tipped. So a lesson to teach your children is that when they drink water, they must remember Hussain. This will keep them from many evil as well, because if they make it a habit, even as adults, they will not swear and use foul language with the same mouth with which every time they drink water, they say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Alayka as-salam min ma'i zamzam wa ma'i al-furat. But tonight we remember Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Our elders used to say to us in Urdu that do not say that Hussain wo gharib hai ke jise mara gaya, but rather say Hussain wo madloom hai ke jise rula ke mara gaya. Now those of you who know Urdu would know what this means. It means Hussain was not just killed. Hussain was tortured and killed bit by bit. Not just physically himself, emotionally he was tortured, psychologically he was tortured. And I want to share with you the Masaib of the night of Ashura and a little bit about some of the key personalities in his life. And then inshallah the Masaib of Hussain himself you will hear tomorrow morning. We are told on the night of Ashura there was a different sha'an, there was a different nature for the men and for the women and for the children. At one point, Sayyidah Zainab alayha salam had said to her brother Hussain, are you sure of the loyalty of your ashab? And Hussain, Hilal bin Nafi overheard this, and he went to Habib ibn Madahir and said to him, Sayyidah doubts our loyalty. And you know the incident in which when Sayyidah Zainab came out of the tent, she saw that the ashab of Hussain were kneeling outside, saying, Sayyidah, if you doubt our loyalty, we will sever our own heads with our swords. So on the night of Ashura, one of the things we know is that from the camp of Hussain, there was a sound of dua and dhikr and Quran and ibadah. The other thing we know about the ashab is that on one side of the camp, Habib ibn Madahir sat with all the ashab of Hussain. He began speaking to them and telling them that tomorrow when the sun rises, before the children of Rasulullah go to fight, we must be the first ones to fight. On another side, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas sat with the children of Hussain, with the brothers of Hussain, with his own children and his own brothers, and with the family of the Prophet, encouraging them as well for battle the next day. This was the sha'an of the men. The women, of course, some of them preparing their children, but also worried as to what would happen the next day. Some of them had young children, they were trying to put them to sleep. Rabab must have been trying to put Asghar to sleep. People say she must have been rocking the cradle, putting him to sleep. I think she must have been holding him in her arms for the last night. Perhaps she knew that tomorrow there will not be the warmth of a child in her hands. It is for this reason that in Sham-e Ghariba, when we recite this Salam Akhar, at one point we address the mother of Asghar. We say to her, Abhi kaleje mein ek aag si lagi hogi, abhi to god ki garmi na kam hui hogi bibi. So Rabab is busy with her child. And as all this is happening, some of the children are sleeping, some of the children are still calling out, Al-Atash, 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 Al-Atash. It was these children's voices that brought Hur to Hussain the next day. And whilst all this was happening, Hussain at one point left the camp and set out on his own. Hilal bin Nafi' heard that and saw Hussain leaving. He began following Hussain from behind. And as Imam Hussain went a little out, he realized somebody was following him. He turned and said, Hilal, is that you? He said, yes, Mawlai. Hilal, why are you following me? He said, Ya Aba Abdullah, I fear for your safety. I fear that you should go alone. So Hussain said to him, Hilal, now that you have come with me. I will show you where I'm going. he began taking Hilal out to the battlefield, the place where the fight would take place the next day. He began showing Hilal different marks and signs. Hilal, see, this is where my Akbar will be struggling when he falls down. Hilal, come, I show you. Hilal, see, this is where the hand of my Abbas will fall. Hilal, this is where I will be begging water for my little Asghar. Hilal, come, I will show you this. Hilal is crying as Imam shows him these different signs. Hilal says, I came to a place where Hussein began talking to me saying, Hilal, this is the place where a dagger will be hit on a thirsty throat. And as Hussein was talking about his own martyrdom, he found Hilal was distracted. Hilal was not listening to him anymore. So Imam says to him, Hilal, I am talking to you, you are not listening to me, O Hilal. Hilal says, Mawlaya, I am trying to listen to you, but as I am listening to you, there is a voice of a baby crying. Somebody is crying, saying, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein. Hussein says, Hilal, this is my mother Fatima crying for me. Hilal, my mother is crying for me. Hussein brings Hilal back to the camp. The sun rises the next day. The day of Ashura comes to pass. One by one, the ashab of Hussein begin to fight. Hur goes and fight first and lays his life down for Islam. Hur is the first shaheed from the camp of Hussein. Hussein ties the handkerchief of Zahra on the forehead of Hur. Then Habib goes and fight. Habib is that friend of Hussein that when Hussein wrote a letter to Habib to call him, he did not write to him and say, Ila Habib min Hussein ibn Rasulullah. That, oh Habib, this is a letter from Hussein, the son of Rasulullah. He did not say, Ila Habib min Hussein bin Ali bin Abi Talib. No, he said, Ila rajulun faqih min Hussein al-Gharib. Habib Hussein has become Gharib. Habib Hussein needs your help. Habib fell. Zuhair ibn Qayn fell. Muslim bin Awsaja fell. Abu Sa'id bin Abdullah fell. Abu Thumama fell. These were not individuals, these were leaders of tribes, these were leaders of camps. Hussein went and took every one of their bodies and brought them back. When the ashab of Hussein had fallen, then now it was the time for the family of Hussein to go. One by one, the children of Hussein began going. The yatim of Hassan went. The brothers of Abbas went. The sons of Abbas went. Amongst these, I wish to mention a few of them, and in particular the Masaib of Ali al-Akbar and Ali al-Asghar. But before that, just as a consolation to Zahra alayha salam, we mention a few of the other children in the Ahlul Bayt. When Zainab wanted to send her two sons, Aun and Muhammad, Hussein resisted that initially. He did not want these two boys to go, because of their age and because of their young. Upon her insistence, Hussein allowed them to go. Now we are told as Zainab was dressing them for the battlefield, Abbas was teaching the young boys how to fight. They were so young. Qasim was 13. These were younger than Qasim. Abbas is teaching Aun and Muhammad, look Aun, when the enemy attacks from the right, this is how you fight. When the enemy attacks from the left, this is how you fight. This is how young the boys are. Zainab is dressing them. When Abbas finished his wasiyah, when Abbas finished giving his advice to Aun and Muhammad, then Zainab began giving advice to them. My dear Aun and Muhammad, Abbas has taught you how to fight. But if you should happen to come to Furat, Aun and Muhammad, do not drink water, for Sakina and Asghar are still thirsty. Aun and Muhammad go out and fight. When Aun and Muhammad fall, they call out to Hussein, Alayka salam minna ya amma, adrikna ya amma. Abbas and Hussein go out and bring the body of Aun and Muhammad. Sheikh Abbas Qummi writes in his Maqtal, he says that when every shaheed was brought to the camp, all the women would come out and do matam on that shaheed. And amongst those women, Zainab would be in front of them. But when Aun and Muhammad came, Zainab was not there. Zainab was in sajda doing shukr to Allah. Rabbana taqabbal minna. Qasim went out and fought. When Qasim went to fight, by Allah, Hussein did not cry for any child the way he cried for Qasim. He cried before Qasim left until he fainted. We are told when Qasim fell and he called out, Ya Amma adrikni. Hussein rose and ran out. We are told he swooped on the enemies like a hawk. And because of his rushing to the battlefield, the enemies began running from one side to the other. All the shuhada's bodies were trampled. The difference between them and Qasim is this, my dear brothers and sisters. The other shuhada were trampled after they died. Qasim was trampled while he was still alive. Qasim is that Wahid Shaheed. He kept calling out, Amma adrikni, Amma adrikni. And that is why when Hussein got to them, the Rawi said he was digging his heels in the sand as he was trampled to death. When Hussein reached to the body of Qasim, he said, Oh Qasim, it is unbearable on your uncle that you called him, but he was not able to help you. Hussein brought the body of Qasim back to the Khayyam. The Arbab of Maqatil said that when Hussein brought the body of Qasim, and when afterwards he brought the body of Akbar, he kept the body of Akbar on one side, he kept the body of Qasim on one side, he sat between them, he put his right hand on the chest of Akbar, he put his left hand on the chest of Qasim, then he looked towards the heavens and said, Ya Rabbal Alameen, Hussein has now lost all his sons. Ya Rabbal Alameen, Hussein has no sons to offer anymore. This is what Qasim was to Hussein. When all the children had gone, Abul Fadl al-Abbas went. Abul Fadl al-Abbas went to get water for the children. My dear brothers and sisters, Abbas did not go to fight. This is why the Shair asks Abbas, when Abbas was returning, he charged back towards the tent to bring water for the daughter of Hussein. His right hand was cut. This did not stop Abbas. His left hand was cut. This did not stop Abbas. But when the mashkiza of Sakina was torn apart, then Abbas turned and went back to the Furat. That is why the Shair asks Abbas, he says, Oh Abbas, he asks Abbas and says, Oh Abbas, था सीने के अंदर या मशकीज़े में दम तेरा, जब बह गया सब पानी तब आस तेरी टूटी, था सीने के अंदर या मशकीज़े में दम तेरा. Abbas stayed at Furat. In the Maqatil we are told that when Abbas was fighting, Hussein stood on a hill. Hussein was looking at Abbas fighting. Zainab was looking at the face of Hussein. When Hussein's face changed, and Zainab asked him, Oh, my brother Hussein, why has your face color changed? And Hussein said, the alam has fallen down, something has happened to my brother. And Hussein ran out. You have heard that Hussein put his hand on his back and said, Al-an inkasara dhahri wa qillat hilati. But in the Maqtal they say, this is true for Hussein. But for Zainab, she lost all the strength in her legs. Then فَجَلَسَتْ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ, she sat down on the earth. First she cried, she said, Wa Abbasa, Wa Akha. Then she said, Wa Qillata Nasira. Alas, we have no helpers left. Hussein brought the alam back from the rivers of Furat. Now the Mu'arrikhin says, فَلَمَّا رَجَعَ الْإِمَامِ بَانَ عَلَى وَجْهِ الْإِنْكِسَارِ. When you looked at the face of Hussein, he looked broken. Hussein's face looked broken when he brought. Tears were falling down from the cheeks of Imam. He kept wiping the tears with his cheeks. Sakina, of course, was still waiting for her uncle Abbas. Sakina kept waiting for Abbas even after the shahadat of her father. And that is why Mir Anis says that amongst the wasiyah of Hussein to Zainab is he said to Zainab, Gar Sakina ka labe furat guzar ho jaye, tum lash dila Abbas dilawar ki chupana Zainab. Zainab, if Sakina should stray towards Furat, then hide the body of Abbas. Ajrukum ala Allah. At this point we now look at the Masaib of Ali al-Akbar. Somebody asked Imam Zainul Abidin, Yabna Rasulullah, out of all the shuhada, which shaheed was the most difficult for Abu Abdullah? Which shaheed hurt Hussein the most? And Imam Zainul Abidin said it was his son Ali al-Akbar. Nothing was as difficult for Hussein to sacrifice like Ali al-Akbar. Why? Because Hussein used to say, whenever I wanted to see my grandfather Rasulullah, I used to look at the face of him. And that is why we are told that when Ali Akbar left from the Khayyam, on the side of the ladies, the people of Maqatil says the tent would sometimes rise and sometimes it would fall. Sometimes it would rise and sometimes it would fall. And when Hussein saw Ali al-Akbar And when he asked him to go out into the battlefield, he says, فَنَظَرَ الْإِمَامِ إِلَيْهِ نَظْرَةً آيِسٍ. Hussein looked at him with despair and with a loss of hope that now my son must go. He dressed his son up and said to him, go my son in the way of Allah. Some of the ulama say that his mother Layla was alive and she was there at the battle of Karbala. And when Ali ibn al-Akbar went to fight for the first time, Hussein still had this hope that my son should come back. He said to his wife Layla, he sent a message to her and said, tell the mother of Akbar to pray for the safety of her son. Layla went out to pray. Layla opened up her hair. She went out into sajda. Ali ibn al-Akbar went out to the battlefield. As Ali ibn al-Akbar was fighting the first time, Layla called out to Allah and said, Ya man radda Yusuf ila Yaqub, Ya man radda Ismail ila Hajra. O you who returned Yusuf to Yaqub, return my Ali to me once more. Ali ibn al-Akbar killed 120 and came back. When he came back to the Khayyam, he said to his father, Baba, did you see my jihad? Hussein said, Marhaba, marhaba, my son. How well and how brave you fought. At this point, Ali ibn al-Akbar asked one question to his father. He said, Ya abata, al-atash qad qatalani. Baba, thirst is killing me. وَثِقْلُ الْحَدِيدِ قَدْ أَجْهَدَنِي. And the weight of the sword is bearing upon me. لَوْ كَانَ سَبِيلٌ إِلَى شُرْبَةٍ مِّنَ الْمَاءِ. Baba, if only I can have some water to drink. Hussein, this son who never asked him for anything, now asks him for water when he does not have any. Go my son, my Jad Rasulullah will now give you with water from Kawthar. Ali ibn al-Akbar went forth once again. The second time he went forth, he heard somebody falling behind. He turned around, he saw Hussein is following him. Baba, you have just allowed me to go and fight. Oh Ali, if only you knew what it was like to send a son like you to the battlefield. Ali ibn al-Akbar went out again. فرجع علي إلى الميدان وزحف فيهم زحفة علوية حاشمي. Ali ibn al-Akbar went out and fought again bravely. 200 he killed the second time. This time when he fell down, he did not say, Ya abata adrikni. He said, Alayka minni salam, Ya abata. Hussein went out now for his son Ali ibn al-Akbar. The difference is that when Hussein went for Qasim, he swooped out like a hawk towards the enemies. But the people who write the Maqtal say that when Hussein went for Ali ibn al-Akbar, he stood, he walked a little bit, then he sat down again. Then he stood again, he went a little bit. Ya Ali, Ya Ali. Hussein went a little forward, he sat down again. He stood again. Allama Majlisi writes in Biharul Anwar, he said when Hussein went out to Ali ibn al-Akbar, he saw three things that were particular to Ali ibn al-Akbar. The first thing he saw is that his son was wreathing in the sand and digging his heels. The second thing Hussein saw when he came closer to Ali ibn al-Akbar, he saw his son Ali putting his hand on his chest as if he was hiding something. Allama Majlisi says, when Hussein came to Akbar finally, he saw Zainab was already standing at Ali ibn al-Akbar. Zainab reached to Ali before Hussein. Hussein sent Zainab back to the Khayyam. He sat down beside his son. Ad-dunya ba'daka al-afa. He moved the hand of Ali ibn al-Akbar. He found a broken spear in the chest of his son. Now I do not know how Hussein removed this spear. I have heard Zakirin say that when Hussein lifted the blade from the chest of Akbar, the body of Akbar would lift with the blade. Hussein put one of his knees on the chest of Akbar. He put another knee on the hot sands of Karbala. He put his hand on the blade in the chest of Akbar. He turned towards Najaf and said, Ya Ali, adrikni. As the soul of Ali Akbar left, Hussein sat crying for his son. Ad-dunya ba'daka al-afa. Hussein tried lifting his son's body. It was too much for him. He turned to the Khayyam and called the children. O children of Banu Hashim, come and help Gharib Hussein. Hussein brought the body of Ali ibn al-Akbar. Now it was time for Hussein to give his final sacrifice. Hussein stood in the plains of Karbala once more. Hal min nasirin yansuruna, hal min mughithin yughithuna. Is there anyone to come to our help? Is there anyone left to help Hussein? You have heard the Masaib of Ali ibn al-Asghar. I will not recite the whole Masaib to you, my dear brothers and sisters.
I will only mention to you this, that when someone is in a battlefield and he goes out begging water for a child, he does not need to dress up the child. How hard-hearted these enemies were, that the mother of Asghar first dressed up the child. She put kohl on the eyes of the baby, perhaps thinking, if I dress up my child and make him beautiful, that the enemies might give some water to him. When Asghar's thirst was quenched with an arrow, and Hussein came back, you have heard that Hussein was ashamed from the mother of Asghar. 7 times he went forward and back, saying, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, ridam biqada'ihi wa tasliman li amrih. But there is another riwayah to this. Not only was Hussein ashamed, the enemies were ashamed. If you would believe that Hurmala was ashamed, because when Hurmala was asked, why did you not shoot the baby the first time? He said, every time I put the arrow in the bow, there was a mother standing by the khayyam coming forward and going back. I felt this was the mother of the baby watching me while I slaughtered the baby. Now when Hussein brought the child back, there is a riwayah to this that is different. It says that when Hussein came close to the khayyam, he saw the women and children were standing at the door of the tent. They were waiting for Hussein, thinking that if he brought some water back, then perhaps they could drink some water as well. فَرَعَى الْحُسَيْنِ مِنْهُنَّ أُمُّ الرَّضِي. Hussein saw that amongst those women and children, the mother of Asghar was also standing. فَلَمَّا رَأَى ذَلِكَ الْإِمَامَ الْحُسَيْنِ غَيَّرَ طَرِيقَهُ وَذَهَبَ وَرَاءَ الْخَيْمَةِ ثُمَّ نَادَى أُخْتَهُ يَا زَيْنَبَ. Hussein changed his path and went behind the khayyam. From behind the khayyam he called his sister and said, Zainab, come to Hussein for a moment. Now they write in the Maqtal why he did that. He said when Hussein removed the arrow from the throat of Asghar, a piece of the arrow was left in the throat of Asghar. Hussein did not want the mother of Asghar to see this. He went behind the tent and called Zainab. He removed the arrow, then he took the baby to the mother. When Rabab saw her baby, she asked only this much, Ya Bunay, Ya Amithluka Yunhar. Are children like you slaughtered like camels, oh my dear Ali? Hussein thought perhaps his wife will get some closure if he buries his child. He took Rabab with him behind the tents. Now the Arbab and Zakirin say that Hussein gave the baby to Rabab. Rabab is holding her little child. Hussein took his Dhulfikar and began digging a little grave. I would ask the heavens and the earth, O Asman, O Samawat, have you ever seen anything like this, where a father digs the grave and the mother holds the baby? I have heard a Zakir that I respect. He says that as Hussein was digging the grave of Asghar, at one point he stopped. He turned to Furat and said, Abbas. Then he says, why did Hussein say Abbas? He says, because Rasulullah had an infant called Ibrahim who died in his infancy. When Ibrahim died, Rasul called his brother Ali. He said, oh Ali, give ghusl and kafan to my child and bury him. For it is difficult for a father to bury his own infant. Perhaps Hussein remembered this. And he thought, I have a brother as well. As he dug the grave of Asghar, he turned to Furat. Abbas! There was no reply. Hussein buried his Asghar and came back. But from here onwards you will hear the Masaib of Hussein tomorrow. I want to come to a conclusion. The only thing I will mention to you from tomorrow, the only thing I wish to tell you from the Wida of Hussein, is that when Hussein left for the final time, the last 2 women to see Hussein were Zainab and Sakina. Hussein bade farewell to all the women. Finally there was Zainab and there was his little daughter. In the books of in the Maqatil and the books of Tariq, this daughter is called Ruqayya. We call her Sakina. Hussein used to call her my little Sukaina. Zainab was the last to see Hussein, because when Hussein got on his horse and he was leaving, Zainab called out from behind, Mahlan, Mahlan, Yabna Zahra. Wait a little bit, oh son of Zahra. Let me look at you once more before you go. Zainab kissed the hands of Hussein. Zainab kissed the feet of Hussein. Hussein convinced his sister to go back. Now as for Sakina, there are 2 riwayat. One riwayah says, the Rawi says, that when Hussein got on his horse And as Hussein was leaving for the battlefield, he says there was a 3 or 4-year-old girl whose feet seemed to be trembling. She began running behind the horse. Hussein stopped for a moment. She came to the horse of Hussein. He says, I saw she began tugging at the robes of Hussein. Hussein saw the little girl pulling his robes. He descended from his horse. He said to her, yes, what is it, my dear Sukaina? She said to him, Baba, look at me, I am still thirsty. The Rawi says, the little girl said, Baba, look at me, I am still thirsty. Hussein hugged his little daughter. Hussein said to her, go back to your Amma Zainab. Let me try and bring some water to you. Hussein sent her back to Zainab. This is one riwayah. But the other riwayah says she was a little older. Her understanding was a little more. In that riwayah, in the book of Tariq al-Shuhada, it says that as Hussein was leaving, this little girl ran behind Hussein, but she took hold of the horse. Then she said to him, Baba, descend from your horse for a moment. Hussein descended from his horse. Now if you can listen to what she said to Hussein. She said, Baba, do you know that when a child becomes yatim, do you know how you sit her on your laps and how you stroke her hair? Hussein said, yes, my dear Sukaina. She said, Baba, will you sit me on your laps once more and stroke me like an orphan? Gharib Hussein. Hussein had to do this as well for his daughter. Hussein sat on the hot sands of Karbala. The daughter gave her last request. Hussein set his Sukaina on his laps. He stroked her like an orphan. Then he handed the girl to Zainab. Zainab, do not let her come after me. Hussein went forth for the last time calling out, Zainab, do not forget me in your Salatul Layl. It is perhaps because of this reason that even when Hussein went to his final sajda, he did not forget this Sukaina. He called out to Allah and said, Taraktul khalqa lifi mahabbatik. وَأَيْتَمْتُ الْعِيَالِ لِكَيْ أَرَاكَ. Oh Allah, I have abandoned all creation out of your love only. And I have orphaned my children out of your love so that I may see you. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم. ماتم حسين. يا حسين. يا حسين. الفاتحة. أعظم الله أجوركم سيدي ومولاي. But tonight we cry for Hussein and his ashab. When you cry for Hussein, never think you have attained some greatness or that you have done him a favor. For Hussein is that madhloom for whom the heavens and the earth cry. Hussein is that gharib for whom the jinn, for whom the animals and the beasts and the fish cry. Hussein is wept for by the animate and the inanimate. Hence, in the words of a poet, Teri gharibi per Hussein kainat roti hai. निकल के रोता है दिन चुप के रात रोती है. Why, O Hussein, why does the day and the night cry for you? तू इस तरह से लुटा ऐ हुसैन इब्न अली, तेरी गरीबी पे खुदा की जात रोती है.
يا صاحب العصر والزمان بمصابكم بجدكم أبا عبد الله صلى الله وسلم عليك يا رسول الله وعلى آلك المظلومين صلى الله وسلم عليك يا أبا عبد الله لعن الله من ظلمكم من الأولين والآخرين إلى يوم القيامة ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمنا من لجأ إليكم يا ليتنا سيدي كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. ليلة العزاء، ليلة المصيبة، ليلة المعتم. My dear brothers and sisters, the night of Ashura has come upon us once again. This is the night to cry for Hussain and his ashab. From tomorrow night we will be crying for Zainab and the women of the Ahl al-Bayt. Hussain, when we cry for Hussain, we should also take some lessons from his life. And tonight is not a night to talk about philosophy, but I share just one lesson that we can teach our children. I have read amongst the karamat of Imam Hussain a narration of an alim who says that when I was sleeping one night, I had a dream about a man who was raised on the Day of Judgment, and Allah began accounting for him, and the angels weighed his good and his bad. And when they had done that, they found that his evil outweighed his good by a little. So they said, this man must be condemned then and sent to the fire of hell. Now this alim says that in my dream I heard Allah saying to the angels, wait.